Hello, and thanks so much for joining me here for another episode of Storytime. Today's story is called Exit Row, and it's from my first collection, Traveling Left of Center and Other Stories. Exit Row. Are you sure this is our row? Damn it, why is she stopping now? We've already covered this. Even though while waiting to board, he had already explained numerous times which row and seat was hers, 19C. She still seemed unable to remember the simple letter and number combination. And now his wife was effectively bottlenecking the already slow-moving line of passengers. First stopping to peer at the small metal label above the seats, and then waiting as though it would light up in response to her question. Green for yes or red for no? Yes, tightly. Just look at your boarding pass. What? Look at your boarding pass. Each word given its own weight. Was she deaf, stupid, or just pretending to be either one? My glasses. Now, where did I put my glasses? You know I can't see without them. She dropped her overloaded knitting bag onto an empty seat and then rummaged in her handbag, sending half-eaten rolls of mints and scraps of shopping lists cascading out of its gaping mouth to land on the aisle floor. He looked anywhere but at what she was doing because he just couldn't bear to watch, to be witness to her consummate stupidity. But when someone behind him pushed none too gently at his back, he knew he had to act. Give it to me. He grabbed for her other hand, the one clutching the now slightly damp slip. But she kept it just beyond his grasp. Then, there they are! And she held her bifocals aloft in triumph. Slipping them on, she scanned the writing. 19C. Now, what seat is this? And once again, she looked at the identifying marker as though it might have changed in the last 30 seconds. 19C, imagine that. I stopped right at my row without even trying. And she smiled at him, inviting him to acknowledge her success. But he looked away. If everyone will please move out of the aisle and into their seat, we can finish boarding. He heard the flight attendant's command, couched as a request to be sure, but he knew it was still in order, and one solely directed at the pair of them, and tried to push past her to gain his window seat. But she sat down, piling her cracked leather purse and quilted satchel on her lap, before stretching her legs out in front of her. It feels good to sit down, and she smiled again. And she kept on smiling as he tripped over her varicose-veined extremities to fall into the window seat, the armrest bruising his hip. You could have waited. You could have let me go in and ahead of you. She shook her head. Oh, no. She wanted us to sit down as quickly as possible. If I would have waited, all those people, gesturing to the passengers filing past them, would still be standing there. And that would have been so rude. Or you could have paid attention, remembered which row was yours, let me sit down first, and then taken your seat like a normal person, he wanted to answer. But what was the point? She would have had an irritatingly stupid answer that would lead to an interminably long conversation, by the end of which all he would want to do was wrap his fingers around her fat, wrinkled throat and strangle her. Sometimes the idea was almost more attractive than he could withstand. A narrow prison cell, hell, death itself, seemed a small price to pay just to shut her up. And that is Exit Row. As I said, a short story from Traveling Left of Center and Other Stories. You know, I've spent over the years a lot of time flying, and when you spend a lot of time flying, you start people watching, or at least I do. People watching and eavesdropping. Terrible thing to admit, I know, but I am a writer, and sometimes you get the best inspiration from these kind of travels. But anyways, you know, we've all seen them. If you've been anywhere, you have seen it. One member of the couple is irritating. The other member is irritated. And if you overhear any part of the conversation, and if it is a sufficiently acrimonious one, you can't help wondering just how far is this going to go before somebody explodes, before somebody has had enough, before somebody does something, stomp out of the room, throw something, in one way or another vent. Not that I am advocating any kind of physical violence or verbal violence for that matter, but when you're watching, when you are an observer, you know, you just can't help wondering how much can a person take? And if you're a writer, you take that question, you take what you have observed, you take what you have overheard, and you start weaving it together into a story that may not exactly end the way you would have thought when you started it, but hey, what the heck, it's a story, it's fun, it's creative. Now, I have to admit, I have never actually witnessed two people engaged in such a challenge, because she is not the innocent that she pretends to be. Clearly, she knows which buttons to push, and with one fat finger just keeps pushing them. So it's a battle of wits, it's a battle of power, it's a battle of strength. Who's going to win? And I'm not going to tell you who won or how victory was achieved. You will have to read the Exit Row to figure that out. But I have to admit, there was a part of me that enjoyed this kind of story. I personally do not want to be that kind of a person like the woman is, that nasty, irritating kind of person. I also don't ever want to be like the husband in the story, where he just has to keep putting up with it till he starts reaching a level where he just wonders, can I really control myself? But I've been irritated by people, and I'm sure I've irritated other people. So, you know, I think a lot of times when you write stories, you take normal emotions, a normal level of an emotion, a normal interaction, you know, maybe one that is slightly irritating, slightly angry, slightly testy, whatever. And then you just kind of push it, you know, push the bar a little bit, increase the tension a little bit, and see what the characters do. In any case, that's what I did with Exit Row. And as I said, I won't tell you who won this battle, but you'll just have to read the story to find out. So if you do want to know how Exit Row turns out, you'll have to pick up a copy of Traveling Left of Center and Other Stories, read it, and then let me know what you think. And I look forward to getting your input on it. And if you've ever found yourself in a position where you're either pushing somebody's buttons or you are the owner of the button being pushed. In any case, I look forward to the next time we get together and I can share another excerpt from one of my stories. Thank you so much.